All right, everybody, welcome to back to school night for second grade. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Erica Rusinski, and this is my 12th year teaching second grade here at Whittier Elementary. Because I've been here for a while, I have had the opportunity to meet many of you because I've had siblings and brothers and sisters and those things. But for those of you who I haven't met, hopefully I will get to meet you in person soon. I know that this is going to be a different year than any other year. It already has been, but I am really excited for this year, and I know that despite all of the unique challenges that we're going to face, it's going to be an awesome year of learning for our students. If you ever have any questions or concerns or anything you would like to talk to me about, please feel free to reach out. My phone number is 268-7246, and my email is on the screen. The first thing we're going to talk about today is, I'm sure, something that some of you are wondering about, and it's the procedures that we have at Whittier in place to kind of help protect students and staff from COVID. So all of these procedures are procedures that are meant to kind of help limit the spread of germs and to keep students safe. And the first procedure that we have put in place this year is to gel in and gel out. And that is gel in and out of the building, gel in and out of the classroom, or other settings like that. So when students get to school, they use the hand sanitizer, gel in, and come to the classroom. And it's the same throughout the day. Anytime we leave our classroom, we try to remember to use the hand sanitizer on our way out. Anytime we leave the building or come into the building from recess, we try to remember to gel in and out. And the main reason for that is just to kind of try to prevent the spread of germs from the germs on our hands and on surfaces and things like that. So if kids are going out to recess and they're going to be sharing basketballs and equipment like that, we just want to make sure that they use that hand sanitizer on the way out so that we limit the amount of germs that end up on those balls. And then same thing, gel in, so that if they've been sharing materials, they limit that spread of germs again. Another thing that we've done at Whittier is we've really tried to limit the number of kids that each student is in contact with throughout the day. So we've kind of really tried to keep groups of students small, and that's for anything outside of the classroom, lunch, recess, math and reading groups, everything like that. So in years past, we've had some overlap between grade levels in the lunchroom. There will be more than one grade level in there at a time. This year it's just one grade at a time. And recess, kind of the same thing. There's no overlap between grade levels on the playground, and we're even trying to separate students in different classes. Second graders are lucky enough that we're all in the same classroom, so they all get to play together and they get to use all of the space on the playground. But in other grade levels where there's more than one class at a grade level, one classroom might be playing on the equipment and the other class might be playing on the blacktop, and then they kind of switch back and forth. Again, that's just to try to limit the number of kids that each student comes in contact with throughout the day, so that if we do end up with a positive case, we won't have to worry about it spreading to as many other students. We're definitely doing some increased cleaning, and that includes sanitizing in the classroom. At the elementary level, students don't do a ton of this. It's mostly the adults and the custodial staff, but at the end of the day, every student does wipe off their desk and their chair. I spray it with some sanitizing spray, and then they get a rag and they wipe it all down really well. So we are making sure to try and keep things clean, especially those high-touch surfaces, doorknobs, things like that. As you all know, we have mask procedures at school, so students mask up when they enter the building, and then they're pretty much wearing those masks throughout the entire day. They do get to take their masks off, breakfast, lunch, any other time where they're eating, like snacks and stuff like that, and then they can take their masks off at recess. If they are choosing to just walk around and talk with friends, or if they're sitting and visiting with friends, we are encouraging them to wear their masks. But if they're out running and playing and working off all that extra energy, they do get to take their masks off out on the playground as well. We are trying to enforce social distancing as much as possible, and we are doing some temperature checks throughout the day as well. It's all just kind of a part of the new normal for these kiddos, and they are taking it in stride. So the next thing that I have for you is our second grade Room 11 discipline plan. And this discipline plan is just kind of an overview of what we do in the classroom as far as expectations for students to follow the rules and routines and procedures. And one of the things that I do a lot of in second grade is we are constantly reviewing anything that is expected of the students. So we're reviewing those routines, those procedures, the rules, especially if I notice that we're starting to kind of slip, we stop and we take the time to review it. And a lot of times that's really all that they need. In the event that a student, even with all that reteaching, is still struggling to meet the expectations that we have in our classroom, that student receives a warning and an immediate reteach. So that just means I stop and I quickly tell them, oh, remember, this is what's expected, or oh, remember, that's how we do this. And usually that solves the problem. If the problem continues, though, that student will receive another reteach at their recess time. And then that reteach is always followed by an opportunity for the student to demonstrate what is expected of them. So for example, if a student's having a hard time showing respect in the hallway, maybe they're touching other people's stuff in the lockers or touching other people's work on the walls, and they've had a reminder and a reteach and they're still having trouble with that, I'll just hold that student in for a few minutes of their recess. We'll review that expectation, especially the why it's so important to keep our hands off of other people's things and those kinds of expectations. And then right after that reteach, that student and I will go out and we'll practice, and they'll show me exactly what it should look like when they're walking in the hallway. Once that's done, they go right out and they get their recess for the rest of the time. Hopefully that's enough to solve the problem, but again, if it's not, if that behavior continues to be a problem, that student will receive a write-up and then will be assigned another consequence. And the consequence will kind of depend on the behavior and how many times it's been a problem. But those consequences could be anything from loss of an entire recess or maybe a whole day of recesses, to losing specific privileges inside the classroom if the behavior is related to classroom routines and procedures. It could be maybe a phone call home, or it could be something like detention or maybe even ISS. On the other side of that, I also feel it's extremely important to provide recognition to those students who are doing the right thing throughout the day, because there are tons of those kiddos. And so we do have a lot of rewards that recognize those students throughout the day. Things like just a quick praise or pause tickets. They can earn cubes throughout the day in our classroom, and then at the end of the day, we do a cube drawing, and if a student has the color that I draw, then they get a treasure box pull. They could get a positive phone call home or earn extra privileges. And then we also work throughout the week to earn Friday free time, which is just time set aside at the end of the day on Friday for students to get to draw. I have some blocks that they can build with. They can get some extra time on their Chromebooks, things like that. And that's a reward for students who have been positive citizens in our classroom throughout the week. Next, we're going to kind of dive into the curriculum in second grade and all of the important academic things that we learn in second grade. And the first subject area that we're going to cover is reading. So in second grade, the big thing in reading is we are working to become more fluent, because we want to kind of move from learning to read into reading to learn. And so we spend a lot of time practicing comprehension strategies. We spend a lot of time practicing how we can learn new vocabulary words and use those words. And we practice reading a lot of different types of texts. So some of the specific skills that we really focus on in second grade are being able to ask questions about what we're reading and then look for the answers to those questions while we read. We want to be able to identify the message or the purpose or the main idea of a piece of text, and those are all big skills that they continue to work on in grades after third grade. And then we also do a lot of comparing and contrasting while we read. As far as supporting your student as a reader at home, the most important thing is spending some time reading every day. And that doesn't mean 20, 30 minutes. It could be something as simple as spending 5 or 10 minutes before bed every night with a book. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the student reading by themselves. It could be the student reading with a sibling or a friend. It could be the student reading with an adult. And it could even be the student just listening to somebody else read. All of those things are really going to help students gain confidence and practice the skills that we learn in class. Plus, they help students develop a love of reading, which is, to me, one of the ultimate goals in second grade. As far as language and writing, we focus a ton on sentence structure in second grade. So that's students speaking in complete sentences and students being able to write in complete sentences. And we also want to be able to take sentences from just simple sentences like, I like dogs, into more complex sentence structures where they add more details, or maybe they use the word and or, all of those kinds of things, just to kind of try to stretch their understanding of language. As far as ways that you can support your student in becoming a better writer and in practicing their language skills, one of the biggest things is just spending some time talking with your student. And I know sometimes it's hard, but trying to get them to speak to you in complete sentences. So if you ask them at the end of the day, hey, how was your day at school? And they just say good or bad, hopefully it's good. Trying to kind of ask some questions and get them to tell you a little bit more. So maybe instead of just saying good, maybe say, well, why? And they'll say, well, my day was good because. So getting them to speak in complete sentences helps them practice the language skills and vocabulary skills that we're working on in class. And then that will ultimately transfer to their writing. If they can speak in a complete sentence, it really helps them write in complete sentences. As far as math goes, the really big thing in math in second grade is addition and subtraction. So we really start by practicing just our basic math facts, addition and subtraction of single-digit numbers. And then we stretch that into addition and subtraction up to hundreds. So that would be 3-digit numbers. So when we get into how to support your student at home, a lot of the math games that I'm sending home are going to be games that really focus in on those addition and subtraction skills, and also that really kind of help students build their number sense and their understanding of number relationships. Other things that we work on in math in second grade are telling time, being able to count different coin amounts, and measurement. And then last but not least, we have science, technology, and social studies. So in science, we spend a lot of time kind of examining how science works in the real world outside of school. So students might come up with problems or questions, and then we look at how we can solve them or how we can learn more by researching or by doing an experiment in order to learn more about a subject or a topic. As far as technology goes, this is a big thing in second grade because second graders get Chromebooks. So they each have a Chromebook that they get to use throughout the day in second grade over a variety of content and subject areas. And we start exploring some different digital tools that we can use to assist in our learning. And we also spend a lot of time really focusing on digital citizenship and how we interact appropriately using technology and things like password security and other important skills like that. Social studies in second grade really mirrors all of our other subject areas. So things like landforms and continents mirror science. We talk about cultural diversity, Native Americans and different cultures, folk tales, tall tales, legends, and things like that. All of that goes along with our English language arts curriculum. And then just basic things like citizenship and communities are all parts of our second grade social studies. So we've only got about a minute left, but the last thing that I want to go over with you is one of the digital platforms that we will be able to use this year if we have an extended return to remote learning. Fingers crossed that we won't, but just in case, I do want to show you guys Google Classroom. If you have an older student, you might be kind of familiar with this, but this is a new thing in second grade. They don't use it in first grade. And students will, of course, have directions and information on how to access this from home, but Google Classroom is a great platform because it's basically like a home base for me to put resources that will support your student in their learning away from school. So that could be anything from resources like websites. This is Storyline Online. It's just a website that students can go to listen to stories, to links to some of the things that we use at school like IXL and Typing Pal, which work on specific skills. And then the other cool thing that I can put in here, you can see at the top, is assignments for specific students, and that can include videos of instructional materials. So this is something that we will definitely be using throughout the year. Thank you guys so much for joining today.